The president of Poland is expected, along with a former South Korean prime minister. A number of influencers and podcasters are on the guest list, too, including journalist Nick Shirley and Javier DeRusso. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Airports continuing to see massive delays as TSA workers stay home and the ongoing partial government shutdown continues. Brooke Taylor reporting from George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston.
It is just brutal. These people having to wait about 3 hours, I'm told right now. The director for aviation for Houston airports, he posted a message on X basically telling people he understands how frustrated they are right now. He's doing his best. He wants the government to reopen DHS so that TSA agents can get back to work. And one of the reasons why this airport and this terminal is one of the worst that we've seen in the country, about 36% of TSA agents are calling out as they're going more than a month now without a paycheck.
Meanwhile, Bill Maloogian tells us the Senate is looking to restart talks over funding for DHS.
Republicans have sent an offer to Democrats to fund all of DHS except for ICE's deportation wing. But Democrats wouldn't get those major ICE reforms they've been demanding. Republicans say they're now waiting for a response. Now, members of the House, which has largely been left out of these negotiations, expressed some bipartisan criticism of this possible deal. Senate Majority Leader John Thune's office confirms to Fox News that as of this morning, they still have not received a counteroffer from Chuck Schumer and other Senate Democrats.
American citizen Dennis Coyle is back in the USA today after being released from Afghanistan yesterday. Coyle's sister, Molly Long, thanks the Trump administration for bringing him home.
There's been so many people praying and supporting our family, and from the bottom of our hearts, we thank everybody for this day.
The Taliban held Coyle for more than a year, but he was released after Afghanistan's Supreme Court ruled his previous imprisonment was sufficient. But authorities never specified what laws the 64-year-old academic had allegedly broken to justify prison time. The 21st century media landscape is changing the way Americans take in their TV news. A media watchdog says local stations are suffering the most.
Back in the day, you had 3 TV networks, and each one had an hour-long national newscast. Usually before that, a local station would bring you news from closer to home. Things like school closures, crime in your neighborhood, high school sports. Curtis Houck of Media Research Center says local news is still a vital community lifeline.
It's the closest form of news media to the people. School board members or county commissioners.
Stations made their money from local advertising based on the number of viewers a station had. But Houck says with the advent of 24-hour news channels and the internet, the money is drying up.
The payment structure just isn't there as what it used to be. And I think a lot of Americans increasingly are also nationally focused.
He says people today are more likely to be worried about will there be boots on the ground in Iran, for example, than how their city councils are spending their tax dollars. Also, a lot of the information we used to depend on local news to give us is now in the palm of our hand.
Smartphones have created the ability for us to get the weather right outside our window or look at Google Maps without having to check the local news.
Houck says the move away from local news is driving the crisis of confidence Americans are having with the networks.
Local news in poll after poll is one form of media that Americans are more likely by large numbers to trust.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
There's more online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
As we watch world events unfold and fulfill Scripture, it's hard to believe anyone could doubt God and His Word are real. And yet there are so many who either question or completely refuse to believe it. The God Who Speaks is a 90-minute documentary that hits the doubt head-on with evidence that proves God is real and His Word is the ultimate authority. Watch it anytime and invite others to watch with you. Just visit stream.afa.net. That's stream.afa.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Today's Wednesday, March the 25th, 2026. And in studio with me is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
Brad Jackson.
Hi there, Tim.
Chris Woodward.
Hello.
Yeah, I like that enthusiasm, Chris. I hope you bring that.
Went all Howard Dean on you there for a second. Rah!
Howard Dean.
Yeah.
Well, there's a blast.
And then we're going to go to South Carolina and we're going to go. Oh, those things.
That's a blast from the past, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Whatever happened? We need
that sunk his campaign.
It sure did.
That kind of manic, enthusiasm like Chris just showed.
Yeah.
That sunk.
That was in my
Howard
job
Dean.
review. Show more enthusiasm. So, yeah.
Whatever happened to Howard Dean? Is he like
I think
zookeeper now, or what is he doing?
Zookeeper.
He did some stuff with the party in some sort of capacity a little bit afterward, but you're right. He kind of rode off into the Vermont sunset.
Oh, is that where he's from?
Yeah.
But he was the governor of Vermont. But like most politicians, he was probably well on his way to being a multimillionaire anyway. So what does he care?
So Howard Dean, whatever happened to? Just research that maybe for tomorrow.
Whatever happened to Howard Dean?
Whatever happened.
We'll start doing that.
Well,
remember this person?
I'm going to look right now while you guys continue on. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Howard Dean's scream comes up right away.
I think that was in Iowa. It was the night of the Iowa caucus.
Whatever happened to Iowa? He won it, didn't he? Was that during the Obama time when Obama?
It was in 2004, so it must have been.
It was a Democrat primary.
That would have been the race that ultimately became the Kerry nomination.
Oh, is that with the Kerry nomination?
Yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to John Kerry either?
He's still traveling with Teresa on his
like a
private
circus.
jet.
He's on the circus. Traveling circus.
He's spewing emissions all over the world to save the world from emissions. That's what he's doing.
Maybe he went in like the trapeze.
Well, the first thing after that, the scream, and him
Howard Dean
dropping
scream,
out,
the famous one.
he was elected chairman of the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah. For his enthusiasm.
And came up with 50-state strategy.
He did.
Fundraising strategies.
Yeah. Good.
So I'm going to see private sector, whatever. So.
All right. Well, what's our first story to cover, Chris?
Well, President Trump continues to say a lot of things about Iran. In the last 24 to 36 hours or so, the president has said things like, we're going to have a 5-day pause, and there's speculation as to why we're having a pause. He has said things like, Iran has agreed to give us a gift, and he's referred to it as the gift. That's been vague in terms of what exactly they're gifting us, if they're gifting us anything at all. Iran has disputed claims from Trump that they're having talks or holding talks with us about stuff. Meanwhile, President Trump, in this particular announcement, says
which particular announcement?
Oh, yeah. Well, he says here that Iran has agreed to never having nukes. So I've got audio.
He said that, right?
He sure did. And don't take my word for it. Clip 1.
It all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
He didn't want to say what in advance.
Probably more details of the peace plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be great news. However, you got to have some kind of verification.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they can say,
you can't trust them.
No, so you would have to have some kind of verification. Fred, what do you make of the? What do you think the gift is?
Well, a little bit further in that conversation on the gift, Trump did say it had to deal with oil and gas.
Okay.
So that just launched other speculation. Oh, are they talking about free passage through the Strait of Hormuz? So Trump is leaving a lot out there right now. Iran, statements coming out of Iran saying, no, there's no negotiations going on. Trump has actually talked about a ceasefire. Israel doesn't like that idea because they feel when you give Iran more time, it just gives them more time to rearm, et cetera, et cetera. I think when it comes to Israel in all of this, the speculation is that Israel is never going to agree to a plan to end this war unless there's regime change. Because in Israel's mind, if you still have the radical religious leaders in charge, we're going to be back at this in a few years. Same thing.
And I think probably most of the moderate Arab countries in the Middle East agree with that assessment.
Yes.
I mean, I know we're probably going to get to the Saudis here, but everybody knows that Iran has continued to destabilize the Middle East, continue to fund terrorist groups, continue to push for similar like-minded radical groups to take over these moderate Arab countries, countries that just want to live and make money and go on with their own cultures and all that kind of stuff. These religious leaders of Iran want to bring radical Islam to the forefront of all these countries. And I think I don't know what kind of militaries those Arab countries have in terms of paying a visit to Iran if we ever have boots on the ground, something I'd hate to see, but nobody wants those radicals in charge of Iran.
No. Now, the other thing, of course, that's developing is that the 82nd Airborne apparently will be in the theater, can be in the theater within 2 to 3 days. You've got Marines arriving from Japan within 2 or 3 days, and another group of Marines coming from California. That'll be a couple of weeks. So everybody's wondering, okay, we've been told no boots on the ground, but where are you sending these people? Where are they going to arrive? Big questions.
Now, you mentioned the Saudis a minute ago, Ed. The reason that's in the news is because Saudi Arabia has apparently pushed the Trump administration to deploy U.S. troops on the ground in Iran and grabbed what the Saudis are calling an historic opportunity to remake the Middle East. So Saudi Arabia is fine with sending troops over there. They just want it to be U.S. troops, like a lot of countries tend to do.
Listen, since we got into this with Iran, and again, I guess history is going to tell us. We still don't know how this is going to end. History, I guess, will have to give us the information we're all lacking. But we can't let Iran have nukes. We can't let Iran develop long-range ballistic missile technology. They've shown, as we mentioned earlier in the week, that they have technology that nobody thought they had, with the ability to fire an ICBM, I guess it was an ICBM, at Diego Garcia, 2,500 miles away, which means they have the ability to launch missiles into Europe. And I think they would develop technology to be able to hit the United States eventually. I don't think we can allow them to continue to control the Straits of Hormuz and or to fund these terrorist groups. So we have, I think for this to be a success, we have to have a regime in control in Iran who will agree to play nice. And I'm not sure at this point that can be done without an invasion. And that's something I do not want to see. My understanding is that Iran, the territory in Iran, it's not like the first Gulf War. It's not like invading Kuwait. A lot of flat, desert, arid, a lot of mountains in Iran, a lot of places where you can wind up getting trapped, and that would not be ideal. The best possibility would be someone coming to power, maybe from the military of Iran, who says, we're not going to be in charge. We're not going to have the mullahs, the ayatollahs in charge anymore. We are going to be X, Y, or Z, whatever, and we are going to join with the rest of the Middle East and trying to have a peaceful.
Let me maybe we can play this later in the show, because we don't have it in our playlist yet to do so, because Brent, our producer, doesn't know what I'm about to talk about. But today at the United Nations, if you go to foxnews.com, today there was the Israeli representative at the United Nations, Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, D-A-N-O-N, sounded sirens to members of the UN Security Council on Tuesday and activated a 15-second timer to illustrate the reality in which the Israeli citizens live under the rocket fire from from Iran. So he said, when you hear this siren, you have 15 seconds to seek shelter, to decide which child to take first, whether to return to for the others. Sometimes even that's not enough to reach a safe place. And then he said this. He said, we do not, Israel, want to live under constant threat. We want a different future, a stable Middle East, a peaceful Middle East. Israel will not return to solutions that guarantee the next war. And then his last sentence was this, that they have on here on this story: this time we will remove the threat from the root.
Yep.
End of quote.
Yep.
So this says to me that Israel is resolved to continue this as long as it takes, with whatever capabilities they have, to bring about the regime change that you're talking about, Ed.
Listen, I don't want to put words in their mouths. First of all, Israel does not have the capability to invade Iran.
No.
Okay, which is probably the only. You have three choices. Somehow you invade Iran, you defeat the current administration, you defeat the army, you install a government. That is a bloodbath. Okay, the second option, whether the U.S. is involved or not, is Israel continues to kill leaders and continues to threaten the infrastructure of Iran until someone takes over the country from within and guarantees a peaceful regime. And the third option is you say you have 72 hours or you have a week to get rid of the Ayatollahs, promise they're never coming back, or we're nuking Tehran. Those, to me, are the only three options. That's also a bloodbath, and that might cause the other Muslim countries to attack Israel. I have no idea. But that quote that you had, I don't know what else. I don't know if there's a fourth option in order to accomplish tearing this out by the root.
Something happened in Israel in October 2023.
Yeah, you're right.
The massacre of those 1,200 Israeli men, women, and children. I think Netanyahu, and he has the backing of his government, it was a never again moment.
Right.
We're not playing footsies with these guys anymore. We don't trust them. The way they dealt with Hamas, basically, we have to eliminate them. We cannot negotiate with these people because they're not interested in negotiation.
Right.
They're not. So the only way that we can deal with these people, Iran and its proxies, is to eliminate them. That's it. There's no talk.
No, Israel is not stopping anytime soon unless there is a real regime change or something's going to have to happen with Iran saying we're no longer going to fire at Israel. And, of course, these other Middle Eastern countries are getting upset, too, because Iran, as you mentioned, the Saudis, that's altogether a different world than Israel in terms of their government and their approach would be they are Muslim as well as Iran is Muslim, but they're two different kinds of Muslims. So they kind of view each other as cults.
Yeah.
Iran, the Shia and the Sunni. So I don't know. I know you basically said, but you have the clip. Okay. So what we're about to hear is what I just quoted a few minutes ago. Brent Creeley, our producer, was able to pull this. What you're about to hear is today at the United Nations, the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador there, his name is Danny Danon, D-A-N-O-N. He had this to say.
He's kind of quiet. I like that peace and quiet, that voice.
Madam President, let me share with you the reality we are facing on the ground in Israel today. When Hezbollah launches one of their rockets, and it happens almost every day, this is what Israelis hear. When you hear this siren, you have 15 seconds to seek shelter. Think about that for 1 moment. 15 seconds. Imagine you are at home. You have 3 children. Which one do you take with you first? Do you go back for the others? Do you carry your elderly parents? What if you are outside now? 15 seconds. That's it.
That brings it home, doesn't it?
Yeah. Listen, I think you're exactly right, Fred. Something did happen on that October 7th. And this is a fight to the death. That's why I say for Israel to say, we're not going back to this anymore, we're going to tear it out by the root. We've already seen their ability and their willingness to kill leaders in Iran.
Right.
And take them out. So they either continue to do that and say, you know, we can do this all day long, since they can't invade. I think they have to threaten with nuclear weapons and say, to Iran, to the Iranian people, your leadership continually threatens our existence. We're going to threaten your existence. And this would be horrific to have to result. I don't know whether maybe you detonate one in the desert of Iran and say, listen, we're able to do this anywhere in your country. Overthrow these people. We say this to the military. Overthrow the Ayatollahs. Do not bring them back. We're not going to live like this anymore. And if we can't live like this anymore, you're not going to live. And I don't know what else that statement could mean.
And Israel is demonstrating this with Hezbollah. They're putting boots on the ground in Lebanon. And they're willing to take down apartment buildings. Wherever these Hezbollah members are, they're going to take them out. And I think actually they're getting some help from the Lebanese government.
Yeah.
They don't want them. They don't want them there either, Hezbollah.
No.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Chris next story.
All right, so we now have a Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Mark Wayne Mullen, the former senator from Oklahoma, was sworn in yesterday at the White House. He gave a speech. Here's a little bit of what he had to say about the job and this TSA situation at airports. Clip 4.
These employees have been there for 30 days without pay. And if you need anything to know their dedication to show up and still protect the homeland that you and I enjoy and the freedoms that we're experiencing, I'll be fighting 365 days beside you. No one's going to outwork me. Failure is not an option.
All right. Well, so he's got a big job ahead of him.
He does.
The Department of the Homeland Security, of course, that now is a cabinet level position. So he answers directly to the president.
Yeah.
And he also this was created after 9/11, if I remember correctly.
It was.
The whole department.
And a whole bunch of stuff falls under the umbrella of DHS now, including TSA.
Yeah, TSA.
One of the things that came out during the confirmation hearing for Mullen was that he's been able to work across the aisle. And some of it came from his martial arts classes with members of Congress. He got to know a lot of Democrats. I've seen a couple of Democrats interviewed in the last 24 hours by Fox, and I'm seeing some cracks in their resistance. They're coming up on a break, an Easter break, and the American people are upset, and they're going to blame the Democrats for this. And these Democrats are starting to say, we can do this, we can do this. Areas where they weren't willing to go just a few weeks ago, Chuck Schumer's still out there saying, no, we need this reforms from ICE. But the rest of the Democrats are saying enough is enough. You've got 480, close to 500 TSA people who have now quit. They've got to go out and find other jobs.
Yeah, and they got to find replacements once the government is refunded again.
We're hearing stories of TSA sleeping in their cars at the airport because they can't afford the gas to go home and then come back and do their volunteer work right now.
Yeah.
What do the Democrats want to do you blame the Democrats or the Republicans here?
Oh, it's the Democrats.
Okay.
The Democrats are saying we're not willing to fund TSA and the other agencies unless you give us concessions on ICE and how ICE operates.
Mm-hmm.
But ICE is already funded through 2029.
Yes. Yes.
That's why they're putting the pressure on other areas, other departments like TSA.
What do they want? ICE to go away, to not be funded?
No, they want ICE. You're not going to be allowed to wear masks. You're not going to be able to go into, let's say, a jail somewhere has an illegal alien arrested for some other charge. You're not going to be able to go in there or go to a house and arrest them without a warrant from a judge. All of these sorts of things. Cameras.
Basically, stop doing what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats think they got momentum in lieu of the deaths, in particular of the 2 deaths in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, but that worked, I think, early on in this, Tim.
Okay.
But it's not working anymore because you got so many people ticked off now at airports having to wait. Some people are having to wait 6 hours to get to an airplane right now. And they're being told by the airlines now, a lot of places, you have to show up at the airport 4 hours early even to get your ticket and then go to TSA.
And it's on you if you miss your flight.
Yes.
Yeah, and I wonder if that'll, now with ICE coming in to help, if that will, ICE helping.
Well, it helped in Atlanta, didn't it?
We have some audio of this, yes.
Okay, because this varies airport to airport, because I read about Houston airport, the big, is it
George Bush
Airport.
International Airport.
And they were, yesterday, they were like several hours wait in the lines. And then I read where in Atlanta, which is the busiest airport in the U.S. In terms of traffic through it daily, that they were getting help from ICE.
Yes.
TSA was, and it was making things a lot better.
Yes, and somebody that was surprised to see that was none other than a CNN reporter by the name of Ryan Young, who was shocked that ICE has been able to help there. Clip 3.
Wolf, I almost can't believe I'm able to say this. The times have dropped off tremendously. This morning, people were waiting an hour in line. Now that is not the case. If you look at the main checkpoint here, there seems like less than a dozen people. One thing I should note to everyone, Tuesday is a traditionally slow day here at this airport. It's a great day to travel out because there's not as much volume. So they knew today was going to drop off, but I don't think people thought they were going to see the numbers where they are right now. The other thing that people have been asking about is, of course, what are the ICE agents doing who are walking through the airport? What kind of responsibilities they have? Here are 2 of the officers who are sort of walking through the airport now. They're patrolling the outside areas of the airport, keeping people safe, interacting with some of the people as they walk by.
Yeah. Well, good. That's good to hear.
We may have played Ryan's last day at CNN.
Why? Because it reflects good on.
Yeah. He also said that ICE was keeping people safe on CNN.
Oh, wow. Better. Yeah, he's out.
Yeah. I remember Ryan's last day. He was a legend.
All right. We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. A lot of more news stories to cover.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
The air conditioner in the church building broke down. The fan in the unit was still working, but the unit wasn't cooling. I called the man who had installed the unit, and he came to fix it. Checking it out, he discovered that the gas had leaked from the unit, causing the trouble. The unit was checked out very close in an effort to find the leak. However, no damage in the unit or the pipes could be found. So the fellow who came to repair the unit put gas into it, and the unit began cooling at maximum efficiency again. You know, that unit worked good for about 3 weeks. Then one day I noticed that it wasn't cooling. The fan was just blowing out hot air. So I called the fellow a second time and told him what had happened. He came back, checked, and found that the gas had escaped again. This time he started hunting for the hole where the gas was leaking with more determination. I guess he searched for about 4 hours for that hole. He ran a check on all the lines, dug holes in the ground, searching around the pipe, even ripped off the protective covering from the pipe, but all in vain. No sign of any place where the gas was escaping. He took out a container of gas, hooked it up to the unit, and began to fill the pipes again. The unit began cooling. He knew it was a leak, but he couldn't find it. The fellow applied the pressure to the unit. He ran the pressure to nearly twice what it should be. He was putting a terrific strain on the equipment. Finally, with the pressure greatly increased, he found the hole. It was so tiny that even a straight pin could not fit in it. It was such a tiny hole. But it was responsible for the failure of the unit. It did just as much damage as a hole 10 times its size. It just took a little longer. A fellow once asked me if there were degrees of sin. That is one sin worse than another? You see, this fellow was guilty of what we commonly call a little sin. It was no major thing, and most people simply ignored it. He was, in effect, pointing his finger at those who committed more serious sins. He was hoping, of course, to excuse his minor sin. Well, there is degree in sin. Not all sin is as great as other sin. Stealing a dime could hardly be classified as serious as killing a neighbor. So in one way of thinking, the fellow who asked the question was correct. His sin wasn't as great as that of some others. Now back to that air conditioner. It wasn't the size of the hole which caused the damage. It was the hole. So it is with sin. It's not the size of the sin which separates us from God. It is the sin. The results of a little sin and a great sin, the results are the same. A hole is a hole, and a sin is a sin. That means, of course, that those who commit little sins need forgiveness as much as those who commit great sins. So instead of pointing your finger, you better bow your head.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19:14.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Chris, thanks for listening to AFR. You know, about the TSA situation, which are these obviously are the blue-shirted agents at airports that we all see, who are there to make sure the passengers pass through security, right? Our bags are checked, they make sure everything's, when I say our bags, our carry-ons and our person were checked. You have to go through the metal detector and all that. Anyway, these are the people who supervise that. And they fall under the Department of Homeland Security. And so the Department of Homeland Security has been denied funding by the Democrats in the Congress for, is it 2 months now? It's at least 6 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people understand, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I know I'm being elementary here, but a lot of people don't understand what's going on. So the ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, right?
Uh-huh.
They, they've been in the news a lot. They have been, across the country because Joe Biden, when he was president, let 10 to 15 to 20 million, who knows? Remember, people were just walking over the border, and many of them were going to New York City, and they were overwhelming New York City. Remember Mayor Adams? I mean, Chicago and Boston. I mean, Biden, it's really, I don't know, it's technically treasonous or legally treasonous, but it's treasonous in the sense that he let people into our country unlawfully by the millions. I don't know what word you would use for that. Lawlessness. So in response to that, President Trump said, I will use ICE to deport people, especially criminals.
Yep.
And this is going to lead us to this next story in just a moment. But I just wanted to, so that's one of the reasons, maybe the main reason Trump got elected was to shut down the border and start deportations. And so, so ICE has been, there's a lot of people, particularly liberals and Democrats, they don't believe in borders. So they don't believe in deportations of anybody because they believe it's immoral to, they believe everybody ought to be able to come to America and live here. And they, you ask them, they don't believe. Now, a lot of you have to press them on it, but they don't believe in borders.
That's right.
Okay. Everybody agree? We're in agreement here?
Yeah, they don't. Let's put it this way: because they won't say we don't
right
that way.
They're not going to say it
they
like
don't
that.
believe in policies that actually protect the border.
Like Biden's, Biden just let them all in, gave them a rubber stamp. Now he would have never said, "I believe in open borders."
Yeah,
but in essence, in all practical purposes, that's what their quote policies lead to. And so the Democrats want to end ICE, or at least handcuff them, right? And so, how do you do that? Well, you defund the Department of Homeland Security, even though ICE, in that particular agency, they've got funding in the federal budget, as I read, to go through 2029. So 2028, 2029, anyway, out into the future. So they're being paid. But TSA agents, which fall under the same Department of Homeland Security, which the Democrats will not fund because they're trying to punish ICE, but they're really punishing the American traveling public because TSA agents are the ones who are not being paid.
Yep.
And these people are like a lot of Americans. They live paycheck to paycheck. Well, how long can they go without being paid, the TSA agents? I mean, that's why a lot of them are quitting. They're having to go find other jobs. Fred said some of them have been reportedly sleeping in their cars because they don't have money to travel back and forth to their home during their, during their off time. So also, can you imagine the stress this is creating on them, not only to the public who are going through the airports, but also it increases the likelihood that they make mistakes when they are stressed and tired, and so it begs the question: why are Democrats wanting to punish ICE? Wanting to punish the whole Department of Homeland Security because they have a problem with ICE? So does anybody have an answer for that? A logical answer for that?
Well, these are the same Democrats that have created sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, where what they're committed to is not working with the federal government to arrest the bad guys and keep them. I mean, that's their whole policy. We are not going to work with the feds.
But it makes you wonder, and I know people are going to say, well, duh. It makes you wonder, whose side are these people on? Are they on the side of the USA?
They're on the side of their constituency in terms of who's running the Democratic Party. They're not on the side of the American people. They've got this sizable part of their party leadership and their kind of boots on the ground voters that they've got to keep happy, and those people hate ICE. And to me, what's happening is, in order to keep those people happy, those radicals that hate ICE, they're willing to punish the rest of America by not funding TSA. That's what it seems clear to me.
It just seems like a roundabout way to punish ICE that doesn't punish ICE, but yet punishes the American traveling public.
Well, because they've got no choice, because like you said, ICE is funded. They can't, the only way they can get to ICE is by putting pressure on the Republican Party, by making the rest of America miserable. When you said the traveling public, that seems to be their strategy. They have no other way to get a hold of ICE and make changes.
Okay, which brings us to this next story
Yes.
out of Chicago. Chris, set this up for us.
All right, so there was a Loyola University Chicago freshman by the name of Sheridan Gorman. She was 18 years old, and she was killed by a man that authorities have identified as an illegal immigrant from Venezuela named Jose Medina, if I said that name correctly here. I've got a couple of sound bites. Let's begin with this one. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about this crime, and Governor Pritzker blamed Trump for this young lady's death at the hands of an illegal immigrant. Clip 5.
Well, this has been a terrible tragedy, and I know that the Gorman family has suffered mightily. I agree, there have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. And in my view, we have a lot of work that we need to continue to do, but it is the job of the federal government to go after immigration enforcement, and it is the job of our local and state law enforcement to prosecute or to catch violent criminals and prosecute them. And we should continue to do that both on the state level and the national level.
So we have that soundbite from
Wait, hold
the
on,
governor.
before you play another soundbite, what's wrong with what he just said, Ed?
Governor Pritzker, you speak with forked tongue, okay? So what he just said was, yes, a terrible tragedy. We're trying to do the best we can to protect the citizens of Illinois, but the real blame for this is President Trump and the federal government. He said he was going to get rid of the worst, and he has not done that. That's why this guy was in Illinois. No, Governor, this guy's in Illinois because you have a sanctuary state, and Chicago is a sanctuary city, and you do not cooperate with the federal government. So how's the federal government supposed to know where this guy is to get rid of him?
I think he had already been arrested and
a couple of times,
and went on a felony charge.
and freed.
And freed.
Yeah. Why wasn't he deported? Because Illinois would not cooperate and let the feds know that he was there.
Yeah, why didn't Governor, is it Pritzker? Is that his name?
Pritzker.
Why didn't he say that?
Because that puts the blame squarely where it belongs.
Yes.
On him and the other Democrats.
But that
in
would have been
state.
the honest answer.
Yeah.
And sadly, the reason the Democrats are able to get away with this nonsense is because they have the media on their side. Whoever the reporter was standing in front of Pritzker should have said, how about the fact that you're a sanctuary state?
Yeah.
How about the fact that you have stated publicly that you're not going to cooperate with the federal government?
Right, and he just said there that it's the federal government's responsibility to enforce immigration law.
Yes.
And yet what he didn't say was, but it's my decision as governor of Illinois not to cooperate with the federal government. Because here's what happened. Just to remind people, you had this young lady. How old was she?
18 years old.
18 years old. She was a student at Chicago Loyola University. She was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant who should have been deported, should have been already detained because he was arrested locally by police, but the police let him out. I don't know, but I shouldn't say the police let him out, but he was let out of jail, right?
Yes.
And they didn't call. They knew he was here illegally, but here's where the breakdown in Governor Pritzker's, I wouldn't say logic because I think he's intentionally misleading people. He doesn't want to have that follow-up question. Here's the breakdown on the part of when you're a sanctuary city, you don't call ICE to come get the guy. You just let him back out on your streets.
That's right.
And what happened, sadly, and tragically, was this young lady lost her life because of it.
Yes.
So, Also, the mayor, right?
Yes, and the mayor that Fred wanted to ask Pritzker a question. He may have been busy asking a similar question to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, because this reporter asks the mayor of Chicago, "Hey, what about your sanctuary city policies, and will you apologize to the family?" Clip 7.
We take this opportunity to apologize to Sheridan's parents for the policies that you promoted that would directly caused her death. That suspect would not be in the city, would not be in the country, but for your policies. Will you take this opportunity to apologize?
Well, again, I believe that we're all grieving the loss of Sheridan and other folks who have lost their lives because of senseless violence. And let's just be very clear, between the Safety Act and the Welcoming City Ordinance, the Welcoming City Ordinance was passed 40 years ago by the first black mayor in the history of Chicago. And the Safety Act was passed under the governor at that time, who was a Republican, Governor Rauner. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question.
Well, listen, I don't know what to say about these people in charge. They clearly have an allegiance to their ideology and not to the people of the United States whom they're supposed to be serving. Mm-hmm. And they appear to care more about the rights of the perpetrators of crimes than the victims of crimes.
I think if they would just be forthright, I think the answer would work for their constituency. It wouldn't work for common sense people, or people who believe in law and order, or people who don't believe, especially criminals who are here illegally, don't need to be detained. If they would just say this, the mayor and the governor just say this: look, we're sorry that this young lady lost her life to an illegal immigrant who murdered her. However, they wouldn't say illegal immigrant. They don't even use the word illegal, I don't think.
Undocumented.
Undocumented.
Yes.
And I would ask them, what documents are you talking about? That would lead to another question. But I think if they would just say, however, we believe the principle of not complying with the federal government's immigration force is more important than the lives of the people that may die because we don't report these criminals. Mm-hmm. Because that is the raw truth about their policies. They believe that non-cooperation with the feds on immigration it serves the purpose of the broader community of people who are here illegally. That community. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's just so silly, their argument. But they don't see it that way. They see it as a principle. We need to defend against immigration enforcement on the part of the federal government by not having our local police and our local sheriffs cooperate. And so that's what we're going to stand on. If it means people lose their lives, innocent people lose their lives at the hands of these criminals, then that's just the way it's going to be. Would that be a more honest answer?
Yeah.
Would that work?
I want to make a comparison here. I want our listeners to understand I don't think these two things are the same, okay? But when in the discussion over guns and the Second Amendment, conservatives will say that this constitutional freedom to be able to protect yourself with a weapon is in the Constitution, and yes, that does mean there are more guns in the culture, and sometimes a murderous person will get their hands on guns, or gangs will get their hands on guns, and innocent people will die. But you have to uphold that Second Amendment principle. It overrides, the fact that criminals will sometimes get a hold of these guns. We make that argument all the time. And I think you're exactly right. What the Democrats are saying is that the principle of letting everyone into this country who is seeking a better life is a principle we're willing to defend, even if it means a few innocent people die along the way. Okay. Now, I'm stressing these are not comparable morally. I'm saying that the Democrats think it's one of these deals where if you're going to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. They don't really care that innocent people are dying. Now, the reason I don't think these are the same is the constitutional principle involved in the Second Amendment means people can defend themselves from criminals. What the Democrats are saying is Americans have it good. If a few of them have to die in order to let poor people into this country, we're willing to let that happen. That seems to be the mentality of the left.
Mm-hmm. We have one more soundbite related to this discussion here. It is Chicago alderwoman Maria Hadden, who had this to say about the situation involving Sheridan Gorman. Clip 6.
From what I've been told so far, right, from what police know, from speaking to the students who were with her, it seems she might have, that as they were just out, people go out to the beach all the time, right? And they go out on the pier, they walk around. So the kids were out doing normal things people do in the neighborhood. And it sounds like this might have been a wrong place, wrong time, running into a person who had a gun. They might have startled this person at the end of the pier unintentionally. But that's all we know. So it from what I've been told, what police investigation has turned up so far, what they've been able to share with me and with Loyola University, we don't believe there is cause for broader community concern.
Now, that again was Chicago alderwoman Maria Hadden, who was, not surprisingly, roasted for that wrong place, wrong time comment. She has since apologized, but that soundbite is everywhere now. And everybody, and they're saying,
who was in the wrong place at the wrong time? The illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Who shouldn't have been here.
Right.
Yeah. And she's almost saying, this alderwoman, he was just scared by these students walking along the pier. And therefore, he walked up to this girl, put a gun to her head, and shot her.
How do they live with themselves? He shot her in the back of the head.
Yes. Assassinated her.
How does a group of girls startle somebody?
She's lying.
She is lying.
She's just lying because she doesn't want to admit the truth.
That's the reason why people that can afford to do it leave Chicago and go live in places like Northwest Indiana or Zion or Gurney or some other part of outside of Chicago.
It would be better if these folks were just at least honest about their motivations because, like I said, Pritzker, and the mayor Johnson and her, they just said, listen, we don't care how many. Here's what they're saying: we don't care that illegal immigrants flood into our country, and just quit bothering me with these. So what? A girl got killed. She shouldn't have been out walking on the beach. That's basically what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
So, and sorry she died, but people die every day.
It's worth it.
Yeah, that's what the mayor says.
It's worth it to let immigrants in.
Yes, it is. Because ultimately, they're hoping it means voters.
Yeah.
For the Democrat Party.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the world suddenly there was a virus in the world where people absolutely spoke the truth? That's what they would say. They would say, we actually don't care if American citizens die because it's more worth it to the Democratic Party's long-term political goals that we let people in here, whether it's legal or illegal, who are more likely to vote Democrat because ultimately the country will be better off if Democrats are in charge. So you don't want to get shot? Stay in your house.
That's where this leads.
That's where this leads.
Next story, Chris.
All right. Speaking of Democrats,
do we have to?
Yeah.
Even some more?
Yeah, I do.
I about had my fill.
Okay. Well, this one involves some sound from somebody on the right. So, America First Legal, which is a law firm, they have obtained documents from the Biden-era CIA that show the Biden-era CIA warned that white women who embrace, quote, motherhood and homemaking are also linked to racially and ethnically violent extremism. The official name of the CIA document is Women Advancing White, Racially and Ethnically Motivated Violent Extremist Radicalization and Recruitment. Somebody that
what's the acronym for that?
REMVE.
What now?
REMVE.
REM.
Racially and ethnically motivated violent. Yeah.
I think that's a drug.
Well, somebody that was not happy.
Have you not seen this advertised?
Well, I mean, this whole CIA document is Women Advancing White, Racially and Ethnically Motivated Violent Extremist Radicalization and Recruitment.
Wait, let me write this down. Hold on.
Wow. And not wow, because it's white. Women
White.
advancing white. Wow. Rem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ver.
I practiced several times on the way to the studio.
Wow. Remver.
Okay. Start over.
Okay.
CIA.
The Biden era CIA
Yeah,
had a
Biden
document
era.
out there
Okay.
where they were trying to train CIA agents and
Right.
whatnot to believe that white women who embrace motherhood and homemaking are also linked to racially and ethnically violent extremism. Now, somebody that was not happy to hear about this was Concerned Women for America President Penny Nance, who told AFN this, clip 11.
We are absolutely outraged at the very idea that the U.S. government would label mothers as, I don't know what, terrorists? I mean, this is in line with the overall nonsense that came out of the Biden administration regularly. So lest we forget the fact that the country was on the cusp of ruin before the election of Donald Trump, we need only to look back to this kind of absolute nonsense, craziness that came out of the FBI under Joe Biden.
If anybody wants to read about REMVE, it's on the Today's Issues Facebook page.
And it is also at afn.net. This is such a racist. This is so racist.
It is.
It's hard to believe that these people said this with a straight face. They said the CIA, our CIA
Under the Biden administration.
under Joe Biden, said that white women who embrace motherhood and homemaking are linked to racially and ethnically violent extremism. What about black women who embrace motherhood and homemaking?
Of which there are many.
Are there none of those? Are there no Hispanic women who embrace motherhood and homemaking?
Of which there are many.
Of which there are many. Are they linked to some sort of racial and ethnic violent extremism? It's just white women?
Well, keep in mind, this is the same administration that tried to tell people for years that Christian nationalism is like the biggest threat to the world. Right. And also, don't forget that under Biden, the DOJ was looking at parents that went to school board meetings.
Yes.
And people wanted them to be investigated as domestic terrorists.
Was John Brennan head of the CIA under Biden?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. By the way, John Brennan told CNN yesterday in an interview he trusts Iran more than he does Donald Trump.
Yeah, he said that out loud on TV.
Yeah, he trusts Iran.
He trusts
terrorists.
A terrorist
nation,
country, and leadership.
That's what you call extreme TDS.
I
don't know if
it would be laughable if it wasn't so dangerous.
He needs a straight jacket.
Folks, what we're talking about is the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, our federal government under President Joe Biden. That's how close we were, okay, to white Christian women and Christians and parents who went to school board meetings to say they don't want kids, being shown pornography or the trans thing.
Yeah.
That's how close we were to the government going after those kind of people.
Oh, to these far lefties who were in charge of this office at the CIA under Biden, we are the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And that's why this women advancing white racially and ethnically motivated violent extreme radicalization and recruitment were defined as motherhood and homemakers.
Yeah.
So, traditional values that they can't stand it. I will be back momentarily.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Teenage years can be a time of trial. It can be really difficult, but it can also be the most fun and the best years of your parenting.
Dr. Jessica Peck is a pediatric nurse practitioner as well as a professor, author, and mother of 4. Dr. Peck is host of the Dr. Nurse Mama Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Central, and find her podcast at afr.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Officials revealing new details in their investigation into the recent deadly plane crash at LaGuardia Airport. C.B. Cotton reporting from the airport in New York City.
The NTSB says about 9 seconds before the impact, the air traffic controller gave its first warnings for the fire truck to stop. A second later, the plane's landing gear touched down, and then almost immediately, the captain was given control of the plane from the first officer. The final calls for the truck to stop, according to the cockpit voice recorder, just 4 seconds before impact. Investigators believe there was a chain of events that led up to the deadly crash, including the runway system designed to prevent collisions. Well, it didn't work as it should have because the fire truck didn't have a transponder.
The partial government shutdown continues as the proposal to fund DHS yesterday was rejected by Democrats. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana criticizing Democrats for not supporting the funding.
This is how far the Democrat Party has gone off the rails. They are a party that has lost their way, and millions of people are suffering.
More evidence of higher costs and inflation impacting the economy.
Largely driven by higher prices for fuel, import prices rising in February to their highest level in 4 years. Overall, import prices rose 1.3% last month, higher than the upwardly revised 0.6% jump in January. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The acceleration in import prices underscoring concern about inflation as companies deal with higher energy costs and tariffs, which are not included in the government's import price data. Frank Lanza, Fox News.
A federal judge appointed by former President Biden has ruled that Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. overreached in his December declaration that gender manipulation and mutilation procedures for children were, quote, neither safe nor effective. Fox News contributor Dr. Jeanette Neshawat talks about the most important thing to do for gender-confused children.
Most important, in my opinion, is conducting a comprehensive social and psychological history. We want to know, does the patient possibly have an underlying psychiatric condition like bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety? That is what must be the top priority when it comes to taking care of our children who may be struggling with gender dysphoria. Because, these irreversible treatments that are out there, these irreversible procedures, they can have long-term complications and side effects.
Author and speaker Frank Turek is continuing to visit college campuses to engage with students about Christianity. Chris Woodward has more.
Frank Turek will be at Utah Valley University this Thursday night. Utah Valley is where Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was shot and killed in September of 2025. Turek was a close friend of Kirk's and was at the event when Kirk was assassinated.
We are going to reach out to the campus there and do an event there at 7 p.m.
On Tuesday, March 31st, Turek will be at the University of Mississippi, also known as Ole Miss. This is the same university that Erica Kirk and Vice President J.D. Vance spoke at during a TPUSA event in October of 2025.
The objective is to encourage the Christians and put a stone in the shoe of the skeptic, meaning we want people to see the reasonableness of Christianity. And on a college campus, it's probably the most anti-Christian real estate in America. So we want to bring the truth of Christianity to these college campuses. And so everybody's invited. We do a presentation, and we have a lot of time for questions. And if people go to our YouTube channel, the Cross-Examined YouTube channel, they'll see over 3,000 videos up there. Most of them are from the college campus. Most of them are Q&As and on just about every topic you can imagine.
I'm Chris Woodward.
Hope for a possible end to the war with Iran is pushing stocks higher again, while oil prices are down. The S&P 500 is up 0.8%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 323 points, and the NASDAQ Composite is up 1.3%. The price for a barrel of Brent crude oil fell 4.3% and dropped below $96. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe true morality flows from biblical principles and directs people to the manner in which God intends them to live.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
right, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim with Ed, Fred, and Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us now. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, everybody.
I wanted to let people know that if they're considering going with us on one of our tours in June or September or October, June and September, we're going to take a spiritual heritage tour of Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown. Also our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and Mount Vernon. That's in June and September. And then in October, Walker and Wesley Wildmon, my sons, are going to take and with Stephen McDowell, they're going to Boston. You're going with them, right?
I'm going.
Ed's old stomping ground. So much history to see in the greater Boston area, including Lexington and Concord and Plymouth Rock. So, and the greater Boston area, including the Freedom Trail. So they're going in wait a minute, they're going in September. Is it September? September, right?
Yeah.
They're going to September. And so there you go. If you're interested in going on any of those tours with us,
I'd love to.
We take care of you. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
We take care of you. And we have a lot of fun, and it's a great time together with fellow believers from around the country. So the information is available at the following website, wildmongroup.com. Just go there, wildmongroup.com, 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 and all the information is available there on all the tours, Williamsburg, Washington, Boston. So there you go. Check it out. We're about full, by the way. The Williamsburg tours are, they're just we got 4 seats left.
Boston this year is September 21 through 26.
Okay.
It is in October in 2027. But this year it's in September 21 through 26.
September is typically a great weather month for Boston.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it? So there you go. Check it out. As I said, Williamsburg is just, we got 4 seats left in September and June. There you go. All right, what do you got, Steve?
Hey, we have talked from time to time on this show about Elon Musk and his scientific mind and what he's coming up with. He's got a company called Neuralink. And I think it was just yesterday, the day before, we talked about a brain implant that will let people see, even if they're blind. It goes right into the visual cortex, and it lets them see through.
Goes into the what now?
Visual cortex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your eye.
The brain.
Your brain.
In the brain, yeah.
Brain. The vortex.
Well, he had a video out this morning talking about another neural implant, brain implant. This one, it lets people speak, lets people who have lost their voice. They're testing it with an ALS patient you're going to hear. And it lets them think thoughts about what you want to say, what the computer's doing. And it will, they're calling it telepathy. It's not technically telepathy. So I want to let you hear this. What you're going to hear is Elon Musk. He's talking a little bit about this. You're going to hear the wife of the first patient actually, he says he's the second patient. He's a gentleman with ALS. She's going to say a little bit about how it works. And then you're going to hear his voice now with ALS.
That's usually referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Lou Gehrig's disease or syndrome, and then you're going to hear the fourth thing you're going to hear is this gentleman speaking through his computer. This is amazing stuff. Listen to cut 15.
I know that I was being provocative with that comment.
That's not the case. I'm sorry. Did I not load the right one?
That guy right there, he was being provocative.
He was being provocative.
His comment, which is unnecessary.
Well, we're going to come back to the story tomorrow, apparently, because they don't have it. I must have loaded the wrong byte. I apologize.
You might get into your visual cortex and messed it up.
I must have. Yeah, I told the computer to do the wrong thing.
Well, I will say, Steve, that this can happen. The visual cortex is located right next to the winter vortex, And so sometimes those things can
Brent, if I send you
cross.
no, I had edited a bit. All right, we're going to come back to that tomorrow. I really want you to hear this. This is amazing stuff that's going on medically.
That is just a shameless way to make sure people tune in tomorrow.
They are going to tune
but
in tomorrow.
It is crazy what this technology is and will do, folks. You will want to tune in tomorrow.
Can I,
hear this.
Brent? If I send you the soundbite from my phone, can you play it? It's an MP3 file that I have. I can email it to you. All right, we're going to work on this. We might be able to come back to this. I have other stories, just so you know. So let's talk about. They had a governor's debate that they were going to be doing at University of Southern California. And they were all set to do this. It was going to happen Tuesday night. And all of a sudden, they noticed something about the panel.
These are the candidates
for governor of California. And they abruptly canceled the planned debate. It was set for Tuesday night.
A serious reason, Steve.
That was very serious.
For them to cancel a debate for people who are running for governor.
The reason, of course, was because all the candidates were white.
What does that matter?
Well, it matters to them.
It matters to
apparently.
California.
So they had invited Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, Tom Steyer, and Matt Mahan, M-A-H-A-N.
They're all Anglo?
They're all Anglo. Now, I looked it up. There are some candidates that are running that are...
Hang on.
Yeah.
Just because someone's white doesn't mean they're Anglo.
They can be Caucasian.
Well, I'm white. And I'm half Italian, half Greek. That's not Anglo. Okay. You people who are derived from the British Isles think everybody's Anglo.
That's my fam.
Yeah. All right.
We're derived from the British Isles. Yeah. I checked it out. Although there's like 0.5 sub-Saharan in there.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not going to trace that one down.
Zero?
Like
0.05?
Somewhere along the way, back there in my family history, somebody from England, somebody from England went down to the Congo, and they stayed a while. We'll leave it at that. Okay.
And way back in your family tree.
Here we are. Go ahead.
Well,
Steve.
they did. So they did invite the lead candidate, who was Steve Hilton, another white guy, but. He didn't show up, but when they saw that, the panel led to outrage and blowback against USC. Some Democrat lawmakers claimed the formula the school used to determine who could participate was biased, but they called on voters to boycott the debate if they didn't get some candidates of color. We're still woke, folks.
Well, California certainly is. That whole West Coast. And I feel badly for the people who aren't woke, but they're stuck in
woke land
dystopia. Yeah,
they're stuck on the woke roller coaster of life.
Yes, and it just doesn't ever stop for them to get off.
Yeah.
So I'll bet a bunch of those folks running for governor are straight too. The nerve.
Well, there's a question about Swalwell. No.
All right, come on now.
No, I'm kidding.
Are you telling me there was a debate set amongst the legit gubernatorial candidates for the state of California, and you're telling me a major university, UCLA, right? USC, canceled the debate because all the candidates were white?
That's exactly what
So
happened.
they're discriminating against white people now? I mean, what does that say?
Yeah,
well,
never heard of that before, huh?
They apparently. So let me ask you this, Steve.
Yes.
Are there candidates of color who are running for governor?
There are,
who were not invited.
Well,
and if so, why weren't they invited? It can't be just because they're candidates of color.
No, that would
it
be
has to be the percentage of support that they were getting in the polls.
It is. They cut it off at a certain percentage. You'd have to go down to, Javier Becerra is running. He's Latino. But he's only polling at 4%.
Was he a former mayor of Los Angeles or something?
Becerra was some elected official in California before I did not bring it up.
But you have a threshold you have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what color you are.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So
anyway, go ahead. That's California.
He was Secretary of Health and Human Services under Joe Biden.
There
That's
you
where
go.
I remember hearing the name.
He's not doing well enough to get in there.
I guess not. But I mean, he's got a pretty good resume if you're in a blue state.
Yeah.
But so I can't imagine that he wouldn't be invited because he's not well known.
No.
It has to be because he's polling in abysmal numbers.
It is exactly because they're polling. Okay, so the way that you can run for governor, you can be a homeless man.
You can run, but you can't hide.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Right.
A lot of people. Anybody can run for governor that wants to, okay? And if you open the debate up and say that everybody that's applied or filed paperwork to run for governor is on the stage, you could have 20 candidates. It'd be unworkable. So you have to cut it off somewhere. And they cut it off at, they had these 4 candidates that said yes, and then they had also invited Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton to the debate, who they didn't show up, or they declined the debate. But that's where they cut it off at a certain polling number. You can't just have 20 people. I mean,
and eventually that's what both major political parties do.
Yeah.
When the primary process is going on. Remember the Republicans at one point, remember they had 2 separate debates because I don't remember if this was
Democrats. Wasn't it Democrats
It was
last year?
first and second tier, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know the Republicans had it.
Did they?
At some point, in some election, because you just can't have that many
Right.
candidates. Because I remember, anyway, that's...
We have a genius for a producer. Brent Creeley, our producer, has been able to rectify my mistake. He's corrected whatever I loaded incorrectly. So I want to go back to this Neuralink thing.
Okay.
So what you're going to hear, again, this is a brain implant that allows you to think thoughts about moving a mouse on your computer or saying words, and the computer will pick it up and will translate that into actual motion or words. So what you're going to hear is you're going to hear Elon Musk, and then you can hear the wife of this first candidate, the one who has the implant. Then you're going to hear the gentleman himself who has ALS. The first thing you're going to hear is him speaking as he speaks now, a year or so into ALS, and his voice is degrading. And then you're going to hear what he sounds like through the computer. So let's listen to the cut.
Physical telepathy, and that enables someone who has lost the ability to command their body to be able to communicate with the computer, and the ability to do consensual telepathy.
In January of 2026, Ken became the second participant to receive a Neuralink implant for voice. He will be able to think, and his device will speak for him. And it will sound like him. It will be OG Ken from way back in 2020 before his voice changed.
I'd like to God, like to be able to go and do things. I can't even go shopping anymore.
Willoughby Blue, I will take 3.
You're going to do that?
Yes, please. I'm done with my turn.
Now, this is the disease. This is a neurological disease, ALS.
Yes.
Stephen Hawking famously had it. And people remember this genius in a wheelchair.
The mind it does not lose any intelligence.
But the mind is still fully functional, and it's that being trapped inside that body,
right?
Which seems like a horror.
Well,
movie.
Elon Musk said he can't come out of his body, which I think is an interesting way to say that. Yeah.
So this technology, this kind of stuff. It was mind blowing to hear what you. Bad choice of words, but we were talking about the implants for the eyes.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the brain being able to think and communicate and even do some limited movements or whatever through a computer.
You can control your computer, including the voice, text to voice, with your mind. Just thinking. You can't. You have to move a muscle.
Crazy. After our TI meeting this morning when we were talking about this, I just thought this is science fiction level stuff that we're rapidly getting to.
It is. You had a concern this morning in our story meeting.
Yeah. Who amongst? Raise your hand if you ever thought you have
on the computer
voiced out people in the room to hear. I thought so. Nobody signs up for that one. Well, maybe that'll help those people in that condition, but the general public, you don't want.
Well, I looked it up.
You don't want that.
I looked it up. And Neuralink implants do not decode your stream of consciousness or your stream of thoughts. What they do is they focus on very specific brain signals. So, like you think, move the cursor, or click, or speak this. It trains on key thoughts, and then it'll engage.
Until the Neuralink becomes self-aware.
Yeah, right.
And then begins to tell your secrets.
So that's AI. So if you decide you want to upgrade and you're going to do away with the previous, it knows your thoughts. Man, think about blackmail. It has everything on you. Just miraculous stuff happening in science.
Well, and you had another story that's science fiction worthy about the moon.
They're going back to the moon.
Who's they?
NASA.
They.
I
told you this yesterday, Tim. They, the ones who do everything.
Okay. So we've been there, done that, and we've got the T-shirt.
Yeah, NASA has announced the plans to go back and conquer space with moon base, nuclear Mars rocket, and more.
Yeah, so we've never had a base on the moon.
Never had a base on the moon.
We're going to set up a base?
Apparently.
Base.
Yeah.
And this is, when you get that base all built, okay, this is how the science fiction movie starts. Because then something comes in through an airlock, and then everyone who's sitting around.
I've seen that movie. What is that movie?
It's every movie,
right?
And it grows.
And the people are sitting around having breakfast or whatever, and the computer says, "Dave, something has entered the airlock."
That's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And that's I'm combining.
What movie was that I saw recently, in the last year, where the alien grows inside the space module? They got a spaceship out there that
You talking about Alien?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't remember what the name of it was.
Where someone comes
I
in
didn't
with
see it at
something
the theater. I
attached to
saw it
their
at home
face.
on the TV. It was on the TV.
They come in from exploring with something attached to his.
Well, they got this like an aquarium type thing, and inside it is these little things that they've caught from going out.
That's I think Life, LIFE. I think that was a very good movie.
And they're putting their hands through into the
that's
aquarium, and this thing inside there begins to grow.
Yeah.
And it attacks the spaceship.
Don't give anything away. I saw it once a while ago. I don't remember if there's. I don't recommend.
The name of it was Life.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Listen, I can't recommend it as far as I don't remember. Maybe there's some curse words in there. I don't. It was on TV, so maybe cleaned up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't recommend movies either. But anyway, we're probably boring our listeners.
No. There was a movie. Remember the movie where I remember the actor, was it Tom Hanks? Someone got stuck on Mars.
Oh no, that was it wasn't Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it's
Matthew McConaughey.
No.
It's
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yes.
Matt Damon.
He got stuck on Mars.
He got stuck. He got left
Somebody
behind.
came to get him though, didn't he?
Well, it took the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, he had a base and was growing vegetables and was trying
Potatoes.
to survive. I don't want to give anything away.
Well, by now, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey showed up in that movie though.
Did he?
Yeah, and he said, "All right, all right, all right."
All right, all right, all right.
All right, so the base on the moon.
Yeah.
Fred's got something to say over there. Fred, go ahead, give us some.
Just so people aren't confused, as early the next 10 days, there are astronauts who are going to head towards the moon, going to do a quick trip around without landing and come back. Because it's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah.
So they want to test it out. So these folks are just going to do a spin around the moon and come home. So don't think when this happens in the next 10 days that these are guys going to settle down.
Right.
Yeah.
That was part of the process the first time we went to the moon. Apollo 8, 9, or 10 did that kind of circle the moon.
Now, I'm
come
just
back.
going to say I would not be surprised on this once around the moon if they discovered that there was now a Dollar General up there. So that'll be a big
That was a
help
good one, Ed.
if you have a base.
That will. The NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman put out a tweet. He said, to build a sustained human presence on the moon, we're building NASA Moon Base, prioritizing surface operations and scalable infrastructures. They're going to start in 2027, nearly monthly cadence of equipment and rovers and scientific payloads going to the moon. They call it a stepping stone to Mars. And my thought is, and I haven't got this clarified totally, it's not fact, but I've heard that it's cheaper to launch a mission to Mars from the moon than it is to Earth, because it's cheaper to get out of the moon's gravity than it is to get out of the Earth's gravity.
Don't need as much
I could have told you that.
Who needs Elon Musk?
Right?
When you get Tim and Ed and Fred and Steve. What else you got?
All right. So we played a while back. Remember, we played who was it, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, was telling people to come back from Florida because they moved.
Yes.
After she said, go to Florida because we don't want you anymore, millionaires. Well, Massachusetts, back in 2023, introduced a millionaire's tax, and they immediately lost $4.2 billion as income as people fled the state. Residents exiting Massachusetts took a net of $4.2 billion in adjusted gross income with them in 2023, one of the largest totals in the country after a tax on millionaires took effect. Who could have thought?
Tim could have told them that.
I could have told you that.
Could have told them that was going to happen. I don't know why these people don't understand human nature.
I know.
You're gonna tax people into oblivion. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, said, "Hey, be a good sport. Come on,
patriotic.
Be patriotic.
Come and pay your taxes.
Be a good scout," as Andy Griffith would say. And they just don't seem to understand human nature.
They don't.
Because the people who left are going to say, well, are you going to tax us into oblivion? Well, of course we are. Then we're not coming back, Governor.
But even, quote, rich people don't like to pay more taxes. The billionaire tax, they tried to.
You remember Donald Trump?
In California, that backfired on them.
How are they going to make their car payment if a billionaire gets taxed too much?
In his 2016 campaign, someone accused Donald Trump of, you took every tax cut you tried to be cheap with, and he said, yeah, that makes me smart.
Yes, that was the debate between him and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
He says, because she was trying to make that a winning point.
Right.
Saying he uses all these tax shelters.
As
says,
little as he
I
can.
do that because I'm smart. And you do it, and every one of you, the people donating to your campaign do it.
Yeah.
If you don't want it, why don't you change the law?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because you guys are making bank too. Mm-hmm. And she shut up. After that,
Hillary
on that
did?
issue. Yeah, on that issue.
She's shutty.
She's shutty. King of Queens.
That's it.
All right, we're out of time here.
we are.
It appears. Fred, any last words?
Just saw a
final
headline
words?
out of Virginia. Elections have consequences. They now have a Democrat governor there.
Yeah.
They are now going to allow into public schools people as old as 22 years old. They're calling them English learners. Goes back to
You're gonna have grown people in
up
high
to
school?
22 years of age. They're going to accept them into public schools
What
Virginia.
could go
in
wrong?
Virginia.
Yeah, right.
Another
Yes.
great woke idea. Good.
Crazy.
Good night.
You imagine a 22-year-old
Oh,
running around with
that's a grown-
8-year-olds,
that-
9-year-olds.
That's an adult.
Or 14, 15, 16-year-olds.
I know. Anyway, that's the headline out of Virginia.
Welcome to woke land,
Yep.
Virginia. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Unless, of course, we decide to go to the moon. We'll be back tomorrow with more of today's issues. Have a great day, everybody.